So let's have a look at how to use the bow and how to use the bow on the violin. So one thing that we haven't spoken about is this screw at the end. When you have your bow in its case, you want to make sure that the hair is nice and slack like that. So if you're holding your bow in front of you with the frog in your right hand, so the hand that you would hold the bow in, then you're going to turn the screw towards you to loosen that hair off. It wants to be not super loose, but just so that you've got enough slackness there that the curvature of the stick is nice and relaxed. Okay, so in order to play, you're going to want to tighten the hair so that we've got enough tension to get a nice sound on the strings. What you're aiming for is in the middle of the bow, that you could fit your pinky finger comfortably between the hair and the stick, and you could bring your pinky or like a pen, a Sharpie sort of size pen, all the way through without it pushing against the hair to the bottom there. I'm going to tighten mine up a tad more. So kind of a little bit less than a centimetre's gap in the middle there. Okay, now let's have a look at rosin, which we're going to need to put on the hair of the bow in order for it to make a sound on the strings. So this is very, very essential in your fiddle playing kit. Different rosins will look different. You might see some that are much lighter in colour than this, some that are darker. You need to buy some rosin. You can buy, I would recommend spending at least £5 on some rosin that's decent enough. Now, you are going to want to make sure that your rosin is a bit scuffed up. If it looks all shiny and new, then take a nail file or a piece of sandpaper, scuff it up a bit so you've got a little bit of dust that you can see on your rosin. This is what's going to stick to the bow hairs, and it's what's going to make the bow hairs grip the fiddle and create enough friction to make a sound on the strings. Now, after you've scuffed your rosin up a little bit, if you've not got any sandpaper or nail file, what you can use is you can take a set of keys and you can just very gently tap at the rosin a little bit, pecking away at it like a little bird, so that you're getting a little bit of scuffed upness on there. Right, so you're going to take the bow in your bow hold and you are going to move the rosin all the way along the bow. Let's say about 10 times, with one being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And hopefully that's going to give you enough rosin to get a good sound on the bow. If you're using a brand new bow that has never been used, or if you've just had a bow re-haired, so it's the first time that hair is being used, you're going to need to do a heck of a lot more times. You're probably going to want to do about 50 times. In order to get the sound on the bow, because you've not got that build-up of previous rosin there in place. Anyway, a couple of steps before we have a look at actually making a sound with the bow. I've got one more bow hold exercise for you to get used to how you're going to be holding it to use with the violin. So if you just take your right hand, your right arm, and place it kind of up in the same position that you'd be holding your violin, but you're going to bring it a little bit more forward, and you're just going to rest your bow in your elbow there. Now what you're going to do, you're just going to lift your arm up and down just to get used to how that bow is going to pivot across the strings on the actual violin. Okay? Now we're going to pick up our violin and we're going to do that same kind of motion on the strings. We're not going to move the bow to make a sound, But we're going to take our right elbow, we're going to move it down and then up. So you're getting that same kind of pivot of the bow that you had when you just did the previous exercise, but this time, instead of moving your left arm, you're moving your right arm up and down. Now this is the only way that your elbow is ever going to want to move when you do start to actually bow the strings. So up and down on this plane, that's how it's going to move. It's never going to want to move backwards and forwards. That's when we get this kind of thing going on, which we don't want. We always want the bow to remain in a straight line and between the bridge and the fingerboard. Here. A little bit further towards the bridge and the fingerboard, especially when you're starting out. Okay, so practice that at different points of the bow. Lift it off, take it to the middle, and then pivot between all the strings, and then towards the tip. So once you're towards the tip, you can feel you're going to have to stretch that right arm out quite far. It's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Let's take it back to the middle. And then towards the heel. Okay. Stop on the G towards the heel of the bow there. Now what you're going to try and do is make a noise on this G. We're going to pull the bow across the string in a straight line. Likelihood is, if this is your first time trying this, it's going to sound not very nice. Don't worry, don't expect it to sound nice. Okay, and then you're going to push back down, trying to keep that bow in a straight line. This elbow, you can see it's not moving backwards, it's not moving anywhere. It's the forearm and the wrist is moving to take account for how the arm is having to move. Your wrist is compensating, but your elbow is staying where it is. Okay, now it's quite likely that you got this kind of sound. That means you're pushing too hard. So you don't need to put any pressure. You shouldn't need to put any pressure on the string. You're just going to let gravity do its job. So just feel the weight of that bow on the string, and then all you're doing is pulling the bow and guiding it with a push in the opposite direction. You're not trying to dig into that string. Okay? Now another thing that you might have found happened is this, where you caught the string above the G, the D string as well. That is a technique called double stopping that we will be looking at further on in your playing, but at this stage you just want to concentrate on playing one string at a time. So keep on playing on that string, try to use the entire length of the bow until you're happy you're getting a consistent sound. Try the same thing on the D string. A. And the E. I've sped through that very quickly. You want to spend lots of time on each string, really concentrating on that bow being in a straight line between the bridge and the fingerboard, and just concentrate on exactly how your arm feels on each string. So when you're on the G, your elbow is going to be nice and high. Imagine that it's the floors of a building, an elevator or a lift. So when you're on the G, the lowest string, your elbow is on the highest building of the floor, down one floor to go up one string, down again to go up to the A, and down to go up to the E. When you're playing the E, you'll find that your elbow is almost down at your side. Okay? If you're catching other strings after practicing this a long time, what's likely happening is your bow is going off at an angle like this, and that's probably because your elbow is moving backwards, and you're doing this kind of soaring, which isn't very nice. So all the while concentrating on that elbow staying where it wants to be, only moving up or down on that pivoting plane that we looked at. Okay, let's have a go at an exercise that uses all the strings. So you're going to start down on the G, and you're going to make a big arc to go all the way down to the E on a down bow, playing all 4 strings, then all the way up and down. That's really going to build up the movement in this wrist and get used to string crossing, okay? So let's practice that together after 4. 3, 4. Okay, now I've said that you don't want to be putting any pressure on the strings, you're just letting gravity do its job. We have spoken before about how the E string is so much thinner than the other strings, and they're going down in weight the higher up you go. So you're going to find that you're really especially not going to want any pressure on the string at all on the E string, otherwise you're going to get squeaks and grates and scratches and all sorts of delightful little honks going on. So down on the G, because it is so much thicker than the other strings, that's really the only string that you might want to put a tiny bit of pressure on to get the same sort of consistency and sound once you start playing the other strings. But really, you don't want to be doing that. Now, you might find that tilting the bow towards you ever so slightly gets you a better, more gentle sound in the beginning. So you're not playing with the full flat hair of the bow, but you're tilting that towards you. It's also going to help get used to a nice relaxed wrist if you do that. But yeah, good luck with getting a consistent sound with those bows. What you can do that is really good, the consistency exercise I showed you at the beginning, just 4 long notes on each string, is if you set a metronome, this is at 80 beats per minute. First of all, I'll do it on the D, second string up. On the D string, we're going to aim to get 4 beats on the bow. 1, 2, 3. Once you're comfortable, you're getting a consistent sound all the way along the bow, you are going to build it up to 6. Then you can work up to 8, 10, 12 beats on each bow. Now if you are really struggling to get a consistent sound, I'll just troubleshoot a few different things that could be going on. Okay. First of all, it's most likely it's going to be to do with your bow hold. So go back, revisit the bow hold video, make sure you're really comfortable with that. You want to make sure that thumb's bent. If the thumb isn't bent, it could be likely that you're pushing the bow away from you. So you might find that even if you're happy that your elbow is not moving backwards and forwards, that you're still kind of getting that sort of thing. That is just because my thumb is straightened out and it's pushing the bow away from me. Okay, so that could be one thing that's going on. You could find that your pinky finger has slipped or has straightened out, and again, if that's straightened out, you're pushing the bow in the opposite direction. So you're pushing it away from you, so it's not in a straight line on the string, so you're not going to get a consistent sound. It could be that you just haven't got that bow in the right place in the first place. You could be too close to the bridge, too close to the fingerboard, or you've drifted onto the fingerboard. So make sure the bow is about halfway, a little bit closer towards the fingerboard and the bridge. It could be to do with the balance of the bow. So all bows have got a point of balance somewhere around 1/3 along, and it's completely different in every single bow. They're all completely unique, even if they've been factory made and mass produced. You've got a bit of a danger zone around this point of balance, so anything kind of in this sort of area on your bow is going to be an area where you're likely to get a little bit of bow bounce. Now, bow bounce can also be caused by all of the things that I've just spoken about there. That's bow bounce, when the bow bounces on the string. So, you have, this danger zone here. That doesn't mean don't use it, it just means you've got to be aware that there's always this sort of point where the bow is more likely to bounce around that point of balance on the bow. That's about it really for your starting off bowing. Good luck with those. Let's round up. Once you're really, really happy with getting a consistent sound, have a little look at this next part of the video, which will look at bowing through a tune, okay? So now we're going to have a look at bowing through the tune that we looked at a couple of videos ago, when we first looked at plucking on the violin, and we played. So 4 times on the G, 4 times on the D, 4 times on the G, and then twice on the D, twice on the G. All in exactly the same beat. So 1 beat each on all of those notes. Go back and refresh yourself on that if you want to. Otherwise, let's have a little go at bowing through that. Okay, so I'm going to set the metronome off again. So we're going to try 4 times on the G, then 4 times on the D first of all, then we're going to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, let's try that again. You're going to find that you're going to need to move the bow quite quickly in order to use a good portion of it. You might find that you're starting off like this. And using a tiny amount of bow. If you are, try again and try and build up the confidence to use a bit more, okay? Just focus on that elbow, make sure it's not going out, okay? So bow in the middle, 3, 4. Okay, let's build it up. This time we're going to try and use almost all of the bow, but we're going to start from around where that point of balance is, and we're going to end almost 1/4 from the tip. 3, 4. Okay, if you're struggling with that string cross, then just go back to practicing that pivot. Okay, right, let's add on the rest of the tune. So 4 times on the G, then 4 times on the D. We're now going to go back to the G, add on that 4 on the D. 3, 4. And again. 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to add on 2 on the D and 2 on the G. 3, 4. And again, this time we're going to repeat it. 3, 4. Once you're happy with that, we're going to do exactly the same thing we did when we plucked through that. We're going to play through it together. Make sure you can play through the whole thing without having to think about it and getting a nice consistent enough tone, and that you're not catching other strings on those string crosses. Then you're going to move on and have a look. I'm playing through it once more, and we'll play through it together with me playing another part. Okay? We'll go around it twice, so we'll repeat. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good job. I've just bowed your first tune. Well done.